Oh, thank you so much, team. Great to see some news on the lighter side. On the flip side of that coin, of course, this morning we are addressing bullying. And when it relates to our kids, I think it triggers parents, it triggers teachers, it triggers young people. This is a loaded discussion, and I think the victims of bullying at schools need support structures around them. But this is quite a complex question. So we've invited Tina Tiat, one of our favorites, the founder and trustee of the incredible 1,000 Women Trust, here to help us work through what needs to happen. Let's make some action happen in this space. Tina, great to connect with you. How are you?
No, I'm very well. Thank you very much. It's been a busy month.
Sure. And, well, it's the year of the woman, which is amazing to me. Yeah. And it's becoming that on every level, which is fantastic. And maybe that can be a part of this conversation as well, because I know that it's not necessarily a physical bullying in terms of boys beating up other boys, as can be the case. We know that young girls face some of the most vicious bullying, and we've seen the suicide rates that come with that. When you look at your space, specifically when looking at women's rights and how we can protect that right through all age groups, how much is bullying a part of that conversation? How does it play out?
Well, people always ask me, why would you get involved with bullying and with children at school? Because we are a women's organization working with women. But the fact is that 80% of bullies at school become perpetrators when they are older.
Wow.
80%. 80. So, and if you take that, 51% of children are reporting bullying at school, as experienced bullying, then it's a huge problem.
It's half of the population is being channeled through that gateway.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So this speaks to an ecosystem that needs to be connected.
Yeah.
I think very often when it plays out in younger spaces, the bully themselves might be reacting to trauma in their own space. And it's very easy to paint that with a brush. My son started at a school where there have been lots of questions about bullying. 99% of the time, it's more that.
Yeah.
Within that school space, how do parents and teachers need to connect to address this? Is it a daily conversation? Does it rest on the teacher's shoulders to see and know that child? How should that relationship look?
Yeah, well, being Women's Month, I must really pay tribute to the mothers because they play a big role. And we know today at schools, mothers are also the ones who go there in break times and do services. And then obviously, teachers have got a very important role. But for me, most important is the role of the principal. Because if there's not a good policy in place, and the policy is not communicated with everyone, have you, when your child went to school, signed a policy to say that you understand what is bullying, what is safe school, what does the school...
For sure. It must speak to a systemic understanding, for sure. That then is great because it means that you can tackle education with one system.
Yeah.
Is there one systemic approach to what schools should look like when it comes to bullying, or is it left up to the headmaster and that body around him to draw that up? Is there an understanding of this at the highest level going down?
Yes, there's actually a directive from national government and all provinces on what must happen in schools, what the policy should be. And you know, we have sent, I might have told you, over 5,000 parents to schools to ask for the policy. And very few of them got their hands on it.
On that?
It's somewhere in the file.
For sure, it's in the fine print.
I will get it to you, where by government's legislation it's supposed to be signed and acknowledged by every learner, by every parent, by every teacher.
So that's lived experience today, not a past or a future notion, because every day kids are slipping through that gap. We're going to move very much into a practical space for the next part of our discussion here. Maybe we can start with that first identifying kind of phase of this. What are the signs, and we can maybe start thinking about this before we engage in the next part of the discussion, but what are some of those signs that your child is being bullied? How does that manifest?
Well, it creates really serious mental issues. Kids withdraw. They don't want to go to school. The young ones, the little ones, they will tell you, I don't want to go to
sick,
school.
I've got a cough, I've got a sneeze.
They don't want to go to school. Older ones, they become shy. Homework, their school performances really go down, and they are antisocial. They don't want to invite friends over. They don't go to friends' events. And eventually, I mean, we've seen with young children that's in our counseling program that the mental issue is really very bad. And we need to get professionals to work with.
Well, you need
children.
to process it. I think like all trauma, it's not the trauma that damages us, it's the lack of processing that trauma. The joy here is, as a species, we are designed to bounce back and be resilient and be strong if we do the work. Here we've got an ecosystem that can aid through that process of addressing the trauma so that we don't end up gatewaying half our population through that to become aggressors in the future. This is a massive, massive, far bigger problem than I could have anticipated. But most importantly, we cannot forget about the children at the heart of this. Maybe your child is facing one of these situations right now. We want to connect with you today.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining a vitally important discussion this morning. We are focusing on bullying, and we're discussing nurturing healing now, resilience and empathy through trauma support for victims of bullying at school, with our guest, who is Tina, a good friend of the show and founder and trustee of the incredible 1000 Woman Trust. Tina, thank you for sticking around.
Yeah. It's wonderful to have you, Tina. I'm so glad that we have you to talk about this very important topic, because it is a topic that I think a lot of parents do deal with their kids. It's a very challenging issue to deal with, especially for parents, whether your child is being bullied or whether your child is the actual bully. But I want to start off just encouraging words and maybe advice from your side towards teachers on how to work in this space collaboratively with parents to tackle the issue of bullying, because I do feel that it comes from both spaces. The teachers, we just spoke about it off air, are so overloaded with admin and work. There's so much going on in the schools and the classrooms that sometimes it is missed. But how do we pick up on that, and how do we go about facilitating, I think, a positive reinforcement with regards to the teachers and the parents working towards bullying?
For sure.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we all kind of put in the back mind is that a lot of people have been victims of bullying through the years.
Yeah, and it's different forms.
Yes,
Completely.
yes. And teachers, very often, we find that the teachers or the parents has got lots of trauma themselves. So one of the things that we focus on is trauma volunteer training for parents and teachers. Just the idea of identifying your own triggers, because very often the teachers who bully a child, for example, are being triggered by that child.
Yeah, their own child.
Yeah. So just to identify the triggers and then to find coping on those triggers. And then if parents and teachers would just listen to one another, effective listening. Because very often the parent doesn't expect the teacher to create miracles.
Yeah.
What they actually want is to be heard, and it's also true of the children.
For sure.
Very often that child just wants somebody to listen to them, to create that safe space to discuss the issue. But unfortunately, it comes with a lot of emotion and a lot of triggers.
Yeah.
And it's,
yeah,
go for it.
No, this is where it becomes very important on how to deal with this, because, I mean, in a situation where a child is subject to bullying and, they might have that little situation, but in the child's sense, super scared of even approaching the teacher at school. So I think this is very valuable advice, because, I mean, otherwise you wouldn't know about it if there's not that conversation and a kind of a open space for the child to express how they are feeling or actually what is happening, because the teacher needs to be approachable, as should the parent.
Yeah, that is, I mean, I've mentioned a few times about safe spaces, but we don't really connect with our children, especially young children. The real connection where you can sit down and just talk about anything.
Yeah.
Then secondly, because we're so overprotective as parents, the minute the child mentions the word bully, what do? I'm going to go kill that person.
Circle the wagons, let's go.
Let me go tackle the principal tomorrow. And one of the key issues is first to sit with the child and ask, what would you like me to do?
Yeah.
Instead of telling you what I am going to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just to create more of that safety for the
I
child.
love that.
This speaks to me of not being able to do it in the moment. You know, we can't address this retrospectively, unfortunately. Those channels of communication need to be open so that your child is comfortable speaking to you. This idea of someone being anxious, just think of yourself in that situation. When you're terrified, someone coming and telling you to do something brave while you're terrified is the most terrifying thing you can hear. So I think we often need to understand that notion. How do we access these tools? You say we've got a WhatsApp line to be able to guide us through this trauma, because I think there is an opportunity for parents and teachers to work through their baggage through this process. You almost have to do that to be a sound resource for these children. How do we do that?
Yeah, okay, so at 1,000 Women, we've developed infographics that we even use with very small children. And 5, 6 years, they love the infographic. It explains to them what are bullying, so all of us understand what are bullying. Today, you'll be surprised, but a lot of girls do not know what is cyberbullying. They think it is this revenge porn when I'm like 16, 17. But
far more subversive,
but they use the cell phones to really intimidate one another at a very early child. So do we teach our children how to use cell phones?
They're going to need to, again, it speaks to this understanding of the ecosystem that parents need to get over themselves. And I would think in my own experience of working through a bully situation that turned out to be not a bullying situation at all, but rather just a mismatch of energies, if anything else, judgment needs to be set aside. You've got your self-judgment, judgment of a teacher, judgment of another child, judgment of that space. You've got to set it aside so you can think practically about what to do. But I think Tina's on the money. Start with what your child wants and needs out of that situation. Empower them with that as a starting point and see what changes. We're going to continue this discussion in just a moment.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining our conversation around providing trauma support for victims of bullying and for those doing the bullying at schools. And we are joined by a wonderful guest, Tina Tiat, who has done a deep dive in this space as the founder and trustee of 1,000 Women Trust. Thank you so much again for being a part of this.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And it's also just to note, we are talking about bullying. We're not only focusing on a primary school level this year, but it can continue through high school, even early stages of life and beyond as well.
Where the repercussions become so dire.
Absolutely. And I just want to throw it out there. They've got an amazing website, 1000women.co.za. Lots of information on there where people can go who I think who needs a little bit more information around this, or is trying to understand a little bit. But we have you in person here. I want to once again just focus on the teachers this morning. So when there is a situation at school with regards to bullying, the teacher takes note of this. What would be the best way for a teacher to approach that conversation with the child?
Yeah, I think, for example, our anti-bully posters for schools also have got pledge forms. So what we do is even with small and older children, we did a wonderful thing with the boys' school the other day, where they actually all signed the pledge not to bully, but to support kids who need support.
Make it real.
Yeah, become a positive leader. And I think teachers should do this. In the primary schools, they even make lovely posters, put it up everywhere in the school. So for me, the teachers play the most important role when it comes to children understanding what is bullying, what this behavior I'm doing. But also, she's the one who can change a bully into becoming a positive leader.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a flip of a coin.
For sure. Well, I mean, so many of, and this is a thing we grapple with as older men, certainly. I can only speak from my experience, but so many of the attributes that we attach to strength that you need moving forward, your ability to control, dominate, use the strength, get back up, do all of these things. If you apply them in the wrong situation, where there is a power imbalance, suddenly that becomes bullying. I think one of the things I'm most proud of for my son is that he was involved in a situation that everyone had painted with a bullying brush. He is now friends with that boy. He didn't have the strength to hit back, push back, fight back. He had the strength to see beyond that.
Yeah.
And a little boy that was going through some stuff and is going to go through some stuff because he's like that. And instead, they embraced each other and everyone's behavior has changed. This says to me that we're not putting ourselves in between a bully and a victim, but we need to embrace this. How do we then address the bully? What does that first step look like?
Very important, I think, first of all, we have to do corrective behavior, like I've mentioned. But secondly, this child is very often a victim of bullying.
They've been hurt,
They've been
Something's
hurt,
happened,
Yeah,
The
something
hurt
at home
person-
is not linking up or is not right.
Yeah, and we need to find them, grand word, restoration, but it is counseling services, and it is engagement with various people, parents, with the teacher, whereby they can learn and unlearn their behavior. We've seen at the primary schools that if you make a bully the captain on the sports field during break time, that they absolutely switch around.
Because now they have that sense of responsibility.
It's their responsibility. And it is how, I mean, you all know that we are struggling to get the government to be accountable when it comes to bullying, when it comes to gender-based violence. So how do we teach accountability right through all stages? Now, we run actually a fantastic program on WhatsApp for parents. And if I tell you, it started in lockdown because we couldn't do our normal outreach. We've got more than 10,000 women who has been trained as trauma volunteers who go to schools, go to organizations, do support groups in their communities.
Brilliant.
And we've now on 5,000 teachers that has gone through the bullying program. In the Northern Cape, so many teachers came forward because the inability of the school to deal with it. Everybody wants to punish.
Again, it's the judgment.
Yeah, and then it doesn't make it go away, it makes it go more, because now there's the child would now again go, the bully would go back to the victim and do it again, you know.
That's all they know.
Look, I think the repercussions are one part of the entire bullying ecosystem, but it does take that information, it does take that niching, it does take that building of self-worth and self-confidence, which is your organization really good at as well. So just once again, if people want to get in touch with you guys, if there's a case of, you know, I don't know what to do out there, and they want to get in touch, how do they do that?
WhatsApp, it's the best.
Get on there.
And our number is 073 2079 079.
And that's on the website as well?
It's on the website, it's on our social media pages. Really, they can WhatsApp us. And yesterday a mother said, my child has been again accused of bullying. He's ADHD. He is
a lot.
and I'm like, the child needs to learn how to behave. The teacher needs to learn how to behave.
That as well.
The parent needs to stop making excuses and help the child with some, like you said, confidence building, new coping initiatives.
Well, I'm going to throw in my 2 cents here for what it's worth, because it worked on both sides of that coin for me, and I've seen it now play out in my child's life path. A martial art or something like that adds that responsibility, has the culture around that, has the discipline for both sides of the bullying equation, made a massive difference in our little world. But you need to do something. And if you're a young man, if you're a teenager right now, you can connect with women in your ecosystem to help. And there are 1,000 women that are expanding very rapidly that can help you. If all else fails and you right now cannot speak to anyone, phone the Depression and Anxiety Group. They don't know you. There is zero judgment. They have spoken to thousands of young men, young women exactly like you, and they have helped them. So please, we're going to keep those numbers up. But if you want to phone someone right now, 0800 567 567. They are trained to help you, and they have done it successfully 1,000 times over. So phone them right now.